Live now with Shadow Immigration Minister Paul Scarr. Thank you so much for your time. We're seeing so much playing out now in regards to Labor's hate speech reforms. The Albanese government accusing the opposition of playing politics with this. Are you?
Oh, absolutely not. What we're doing is working in the national interest. And these are extremely important laws. They're complicated laws. We were given 500 pages, approximately 500 pages of material late on Monday. It was released to the general public on Tuesday. We've been working in good faith through that material, getting the views of all stakeholders. And there were serious concerns that have been raised with us and that were raised in the public domain during the public inquiry, which the Parliamentary Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence and Security had over the last 2 days. Simple questions which the department has difficulty in answering. For example, will globalised the Intifada fall within the domain of the racial vilification offence or not? We couldn't get a simple answer to that. The meaning of a religious text. What is a religious text? What isn't a religious text? The operation of the defence in the racial vilification offence. How would that operate? Does it actually neuter the effect of the law in terms of operating against hate preachers? So these are all really serious issues that have been raised. And we currently, as we're sitting here today having this discussion, there's still 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes for the public, for all stakeholders to put in their submissions. So this is a very, very rushed process. And
they're all very worthwhile questions, but if Susan Lee had her way, you guys would have all been back before Christmas getting it done. It would have been even more rushed, no?
No, I don't agree with that. I think it was very important that the Parliament was convened as soon as possible after the Bondi terrorist attack. And I think it was very important as a sign of unity, as a sign of solidarity for us to come to the Australian Parliament as soon as possible after that attack and discuss the roadmap of the way forward. And the other point I want to make in this is I think it would have been preferable had the government engaged in close discussions with the opposition leader, as Susan Lee invited after the Bondi terrorist attack, in relation to the content of this bill. But the fact of the matter is that we got the bill and the first we knew of some of the important issues raised in the bill was on Monday night, and that includes the operation of this defence.
OK, so you say there hasn't been enough collaboration. On the concern that the opposition clearly has about the bill risking criminalising mainstream political speech, Labor says that this might be the only way to, say, capture hate preachers. So what's your argument there?
Well, I don't accept that. I don't accept that proposition. I think Susan was very strong earlier today in terms of saying the purpose of this bill has to be to address the explosion in antisemitism, which we saw after 7 October, and also to address radical Islamist extremism, which is that extremism which underpins Islamic State and other terrorist organisations. So that really needed to be the laser focus of this legislation. When the legislation was provided to us late on Monday, then it covers a range of other matters, which means there's so much complication and serious concerns are being raised.
OK, with these concerns, where to from here for the opposition? Are you proposing amendments? Do you wish that there's longer time to debate the legislation? What's the fix?
Well, we're in the process of engaging in good faith and dealing with and considering all of the serious concerns which have been raised. During the course of the day, I've been reading submissions as they've been released by the Parliamentary Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence and Security. And each of those submissions, many of those submissions, including from experts in relation to the criminal law, in relation to freedom of religion, are raising additional issues. So we really need to take the time to go through all of those concerns, to weigh up those serious concerns, and then go through our processes in an orderly way, which includes shadow cabinet and, of course, the party room.
We're seeing the Executive Council of Australian Jewry say they backed the legislation. Doesn't this put the coalition in a difficult spot now, opposing legislation that one of the most prominent Jewish groups supports in the wake of what happened in Bondi?
Well, we need to consider the viewpoints of all stakeholders. I have a great deal of respect, of course, for Peter Wertheim and the work that he's done, and I've had that respect ever since entering into the Australian Senate. So, of course, that needs to be considered, but the views of all other stakeholders, including other stakeholders in the Jewish community, have to be considered.
And just in regards to the gun reform, I know the Coalition said that there's an attempt to wedge your party here by making it an omnibus bill. The government, though, has said you can't ignore the facts that one of these alleged gunmen, did get the weapons to carry out that Bondi attack legally. We did see the Coalition in New South Wales push back a bit on that kind of reform being introduced here before Christmas. There was concern from farmers and people in regional New South Wales, but it did still go through. Do you think what happened here at a state level was a bad move?
Look, I'm strongly of the view that these matters shouldn't be conflated, that we shouldn't be dealing with racial vilification offences, criminal offences in the same bill as a bill which deals with firearms regulation. They should have been split out, and I think it was a sign of bad faith on the part of the Albanese Labor government to put them in the same bill, to put them in an omnibus bill. And from the start of this process, I think there needed to be greater consultation with the opposition leader Susan Lee, and the bill should have been put forward in the most constructive way possible, and that means it should have been split out. We shouldn't be dealing with an omnibus bill.
Paul Scarr, thank you for your time. Talk soon.